The Toronto Raptors lose another tight one as they fall to the Utah Jazz, 131-128. Welcome to Raptors Tonight. I'm Randy Irvin, joined by Sherman Hamilton and Jack Armstrong. Guys, Raptors there, right there once again, but 131 is a lot to give up. What contributed to the loss defensively, Jack?
A few things. I think, you're playing at altitude, you wear down a little bit. Obviously, you don't have OG Anunoby, so you kind of wear down a little bit in terms of your second unit. They were outscored. I think it was by 23 points by the second unit. So that really has a significant impact in the middle stages of the game. You're most of the night you're playing from behind. A few times they were able to capture the league and then give it right back. So, keeping the ball under control. I thought the Jazz did a great job moving it. And I tell you what, the Raptors played hard tonight. I mean, they beat Utah up on the glass. They won the turnover margin big. They took a lot more shots. This was one of your classic Raptor games where they had every opportunity to take this game. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just being real. If they have OG Anunoby in a game like this and everyone moves down a peg, and even the Phoenix game, I think there's a different result in those two games. But there isn't, and you got to deal with it. And right now, what we're dealing with is another close loss, which gives them their 30th loss on the season.
Mm-hmm. Jonesy, you're back. Sure. Just Walker Kessler was a problem. What did you like most about his game tonight?
Well, there's a lot to like about the young man's game. He's a definite shot blocker. He understands timing, spacing, does a great job getting his feet into position before he elevates to go and block a shot. Doesn't drop his arms in terms of fouling on the downswing. He's just a very, very good defensively positioned shot blocker. And then I like the fact that he's a lob threat as well. He gets around, he gets that help coming to the ball handler. He can catch the ball above the rim. He can make a play. He's very, very aggressive on the glass. He's mobile. There's a lot to like about this young man. And one of the reasons why the Raptors took so many more shots than the Jazz did is because Walker Kessler either blocked or altered or intimidated some of those shots. He was in there, and you can see the releases were quicker. They weren't as fluid because you're trying to get it up there before Kessler comes around and makes a play on it. So his intimidation factor was alive too, in terms of altering and making Raptor players think about him when he got to the basket. But this young man's got a bright future, and it's very rare you can play two 7-footers who complement each other the way these two do in terms of an outside-inside presence. But Kessler's a serious defender. I mean, you give up Rudy Gobert and you get this young man, it's kind of like an upgrade at this point.
Mm-hmm. Is that stuff taught, that skill taught, or is that, born, Jonesy, that timing that he had?
It comes through repetition. It's somebody teaching him how to play big. And that's not something that's done a lot right now. I mean, to Sherm's point, he's playing like a classic big man right now, hanging around the paint, affecting shots on the defensive end, screening, rolling, finishing on the offensive end, presenting himself. Just, this idea, this notion that everybody has to play on the perimeter. I'm not saying that this young man's game is not going to get there, but right now he's got a defined role. Mm-hmm. And he's basically stepped into that void that was left by Rudy Gobert. And somebody's taught him how to play like a big man. He's big. Somebody's worked on him close to the basket, keeping the ball above his head, blocking shots, not getting his body in the way, using the space, all of those things. Those are classic big man stuff that somebody has to teach you. And you have to be willing to be receptive to that kind of coaching. And the young man's done that.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned this, I don't know if it was the Golden State game or the Phoenix game. And I'm not a big stats guy. This one jumps out a little bit at me. And that is scoring in the NBA from the 3-point line is down 1% of a percentage point from 3-point range. Scoring at the rim is up a full 2 percentage points. So what does that tell you? Teams are doing a better job of guarding threes and coming up with schemes to get people out of sync a little bit. Yet people are shooting such a high volume of threes. You still, and obviously the volume was pretty high from the Jazz tonight, and they scored more threes. But to have then the ability to have rim protection to go along with that is the perfect defense right now, in my opinion, in this modern era that we play in.
Right.
So I think a guy like him gives you the ability now to be that much more aggressive in terms of risk taking, playing passing lanes, being super aggressive, blowing up handoffs, ball screens, yada, 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 and just flybys, shot challenges on the perimeter, because those guys know there is still somebody back there if they decide to make a paint touch and try to get to the rim, that he'll be there to deter it, and maybe they have to throw it back out again and you can recover. So the value of a guy like that is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. On the bright side for the Raps, Sherm, Fred VanVleet certainly did his part to make it interesting in that fourth quarter, especially. He just looks so revitalized to me. Is that what you're seeing as well?
Well, he looks great in terms of his ability to impact the game on so many levels. And even though tonight it wasn't an efficient night for Fred, I mean, the triple-double still, you saw his imprint, especially late. He made some big threes in that fourth quarter. And that's what I really enjoy about Fred. He's got this competitive nature with this calmness and this ability from a skill perspective to get it done. And that's what's so impressive about him. And, without Fred in the game, this team would be at a different level because he makes so many good plays when they need them. And he understands how to get people the basketball when they need to get the basketball. So his ability to kind of orchestrate and to run offense. And then defensively, he was excellent in terms of how disruptive he was when he was on Jordan Clarkson and the likes. I just love what Fred's doing on both sides of the basketball. And you might be right. He might be in one of his best flows that we've seen all season long with the consistent way that he's been impacting games.
Yeah. And on the other side, not shooting it so great, Jonesy. Siakam and Barnes combined for 16 of 45 shooting. It's rare to see Barnes have an off night like that shooting the ball. It just doesn't happen with his game. So what did you make of the offensive struggles from those two guys?
Part of it was Scottie. It was one of those nights. He had a lot of chippies, a lot of bunnies down low. I mean, I think we counted in the studio here, the radio studio, looking at the shot charts, upwards of 25 shots missed by the Raptors inside of 3 feet. That's like the Comet. It's a rarity. You're not going to see that all the time, especially guys like, Scottie and Pascal who finish down there. Walker Kessler's a part of that. But at the same time, it was just one of those nights. I want to see them keep doing that, though. To Jack's point about that stat, keep getting the ball inside, keep getting those paint touches, keep pounding the offensive glass, and things will start to go your way. It was just one of those nights. I can't attribute it to anything, that they were doing wrong. I give Walker Kessler some credit. But it was one of those nights where they just weren't making shots that normally would go down.
Jack, were you liking what the Raptors were doing offensively? I know they put up a lot of points, but how did you see them on that side of the ball tonight?
Well, Jonesy Sherman pointed out the fact that they struggled scoring at the rim, but they did get the ball in there, which is a good thing. I thought their ball movement was pretty solid. As Sherm talked about in terms of Fred's in a great place right now. I think they scored enough points to win a basketball game. But today's NBA, let's look at the difference in this game. I mean, you look at who you're bringing off the bench. That makes a big difference. And just there. When you get into those middle stage minutes of the game and which team kind of builds on its lead and it gets a quick run, I think Utah, and again, I mentioned the fact that OG being out, I think Utah's depth was just a little better. And again, you're playing an altitude. These guys throw multiple guys at you. If I'm not mistaken, I don't have a stat sheet in front of me, but in the last minute, the Raptors had 4 guys that led the 2 teams in minutes. And Utah didn't have anyone in that category, you know? So my point is Nick Nurse had to roll with his starters a little bit more to have a chance to lose by 3, you know? And so, you know, that, and particularly when you're playing at altitude, you're going to have a few plays where guys, there are fatigue plays. And it definitely happened to them.
Yeah, and Sherm, just offensively, and I know you guys are right. That's a lot of points. You scored enough points to win. There were a few times though that I noticed that, you know, on the break, a 2-on-1 or a 3-on-1, the Raptors sort of didn't capitalize, didn't make the right pass, force the issue a couple of times. When you miss those opportunities, can that have a lasting effect, even though it's 1 or 2 possessions or 3 possessions?
Well, I mean, at the time of the game, it can impact, you know, have a lasting effect. I just think that, you know, fast breaks today aren't run necessarily for a layup anymore. So the decision making and that flow is different. But if you're the Raptors and you miss an opportunity in transition, which they had a lot of success, especially turning Utah over in the first half and getting out in transition and scoring, you want to capitalize on those open court opportunities, because in the half court, when Walker Kessler's on the floor, he becomes a problem, you know? And I think for the Raptors, they found something in transition, and I think they'd want to take more advantage of that, because that means their defense is clicking. That means they're defending their defensive glass and getting out and pushing the ball. Then you're kind of eliminating Walker Kessler's ability to roam the paint and just block and alter shots. So I guess the time of the game, it could be a bit more demoralizing than others, but you got to take advantage of those opportunities, because in a game like this, it was tougher to score in the half court.
Real quick, I'll get you out on this, Jonesy. Scottie Barnes, congratulations to him, who once again selected to participate in the Jordan Rising Stars on All-Star Weekend. You know, kind of an up and down year to start, but he's really put together a nice season lately.
Yeah, he has. He's been good lately. He's been more consistent, and you're seeing different parts of his game come to the forefront. Not just his playmaking, starting to score. You know, his jump shot has looked better recently. He's done a good job as the roll man, scoring as the roll man, receiving the ball, and also making plays in that quarterbacking role. I think he's becoming more consistent. It's got to translate into wins for the team, though.
Yeah. All right, guys, going to stop it there. Next game for the Raptors, Friday in Houston against the Rockets. Tip-off goes at 8 p.m. Eastern. After the game, be sure to catch Raptors Tonight on YouTube and NBA TV Canada. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.